We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
Donald Trump claims a win in the New Hampshire GOP primary against former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. This comes hot on the heels of his Iowa victory, where he won the caucus by a record-breaking amount. What does this mean for the overall GOP primary? What does this mean for Donald Trump and Nikki Haley? And of course, the people who've already dropped out of the race. And possibly most importantly, what does this mean for the 2024 election that is now more than ever looking certain to be between President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump? Welcome back to Liberty Nation Radio, heard coast to coast on the Radio America Network. I'm your host, Mark Angelides. On today's show, we'll be speaking with Liberty Nation's senior political analyst and longtime host of this here radio show, Mr. Tim Donner, on all things related to the primaries. We'll also be talking with Liberty Nation's legal affairs editor, Scott D. Cosenza, on Georgia taking Trump to task, courtesy of Fulton County DA Fani Willis. And remember, this show is proudly sponsored by LibertyNation.com, where you can access podcasts, breaking news, analysis, and a range of biting and brilliant shows to whet your appetite for freedom and your fondness for the great American Constitution. Let's get started. For all the ins, outs, the ramifications, the thoughts and the fears of the latest GOP primary, we're joined by Liberty Nation's senior political analyst and longtime host of this here radio show, Mr. Timothy Donner, with his new featuring Tim Donner logo in the background, which I love dearly.
Thank you for drawing attention to that. No, that was not my idea, by the way.
For those of you listening,
name up in lights. That was somebody else's notion.
For those of you who are just listening on the radio here on Radio America Network, there's a big gold microphone with almost flames coming out of it. It's rather Old Testament. So Tim, thanks for being here. Obviously, the topic today is the Republican primary and caucus situation and how that affects politics going forward. Now, we're recording this just after Donald Trump won New Hampshire, and what I would say is a fairly decisive victory. What do you think, Tim?
I'd say it's borderline decisive because, as I wrote on the pages of LibertyNation.com, it's reasonable to say that if she had reduced her margin against Trump down to single digits, it would have been a clear victory of sorts, where she could claim that she beat expectations, which is really all she could realistically hope for. But she didn't do that, but she wasn't like at 15 or 20% deficit. So I think 11% is legitimate to say that you can move on. The problem for her is not New Hampshire, even though that was one state that she really had to win, in the sense that you don't get another state that is as sort of purple as New Hampshire.
If I could just interrupt you there, Tim. Isn't that fascinating that we're saying that about Nikki Haley, that she needs a state that's purple to win?
Well, yes, because look, in fairness, though, I think we need to put this whole thing about her neoconservatism into perspective. She gets the purple vote because she's not Donald Trump, because there's a lot of people that simply will not vote for Donald Trump, won't consider voting for Donald Trump. So she's the repository for the collective vote of those people. That doesn't necessarily mean that she's automatically the war hawk that everybody says she is.
Sure.
I don't think we know that. In fairness to her, I also think that it's time we give some credit where it's due. This woman has outlasted 8 male candidates of stature, and she's still standing. She's looking good. She's sounding good. She is a shrewd politician. And I think what's in front of her now is to decide, because she's got a month before South Carolina, with only Nevada in between, which she can probably brush off.
I want to talk about Nevada briefly, but we'll do it after.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah.
Well, I'll just finish about South Carolina. Of course, it's her home state, which would lead you to believe, oh boy, no wonder she's excited about going to the state that she governed, and quite successfully and quite popularly, I might add, governing as essentially a mainstream conservative. It's a matter of if she believes one of two things. The first thing would be, look, Trump's going to win this. I can see the handwriting on the wall like everybody else, so I'm going to do a graceful exit and endorse him. But maybe I'll campaign another week or two just to see if I get any traction and then pull out. If not, it seems to me option number two for Haley is to stay in right through Super Tuesday, because Trump's first trial is scheduled to begin the day before Super Tuesday. And number two, I don't think anybody in the Republican Party is totally comfortable with the idea that Donald Trump is not going to drop in the polls if he gets convicted or is seen constantly in court. So as a shrewd politician, what she's doing now, is it worth the risk to sort of further divide the party by taking her fight all the way to March? Or is she better off accepting defeat here, knowing that she'll look magnanimous and be in a very good position for 2028?
Yeah, it occurs that might be her best scenario now. Now, if there were other people still in the race, for example, Ron DeSantis or even a Chris Christie, for example, then holding out to see if essentially betting on if Trump gets sent to prison is I guess the base way of looking at it, and then she would semi-automatically get the nomination or get the nod anyway. But yeah, by being the only other candidate in the field, that kind of puts her in that position, because the others are now, in that respect, proven quitters, right?
Well, there's also another plan that could be in place.
Yeah.
There's a great deal of value to the second spot on the Republican presidential ticket this year. As if Trump wins, then the vice president, whoever that is ideally positioned to be the default frontrunner for 2028. The strategy could be to keep pushing to prove that she can attract the people in the party that don't like Trump, almost forcing him to take her as his VP, because he's already proven that he's looking at the VP position as he did in 2016, not as a reward for one of his rivals, so much as a shrewd political decision that increases his chances of winning. And I think that undeniably Nikki Haley would add to the ticket, even if she loses some support because she's seen as an old-time Bush-style neoconservative. But if the goal is to unite the party, the anti-Trump people won't have a whole lot left to say if he picks Nikki Haley.
Interesting contention. We'll be back with Tim Donner after this short break. Don't go anywhere. We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
Don't get caught up in the media madness. Join our movement for free thinking and free speech at libertynation.com. Publishing news and analysis 24/7 with original articles by our team of authors who tell it like it is. Join us each week for online TV shows, The Uprising Podcast, and Liberty Nation Radio. We believe in free thinking and free speech. We are libertynation.com.